Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year! I am so excited to start the new year with a new episode of This Made My Week, and this episode is truly special. If your New Year's resolution this year is to change your career, to bring more purpose and meaning into your life, if you want to restore your faith in humanity and goodness, if you want to find more creative solutions how you can contribute to a better world, this episode is for you. I want to introduce you to Steven Mair, the very first in-residence gamer at the Glasgow's Children's Hospital. You heard me right, his job is to play video games with kids at the hospital. When I heard his story on BBC, I knew immediately that I wanted to meet him myself personally. I wanted to ask more questions about him, about his life, about his career. So I was so grateful when he found the time over Christmas holidays and we had the loveliest conversation. And let me tell you, afterwards, my whole body was buzzing with positivity, with inspiration, with gratitude. His story is incredible, and what they're doing together with the colleagues at the hospital is just truly unique, and I think it's a good example for all of us. What I want is for Steven's story and his team to be expanders that allows us to see that a different way of healing, of being, of taking care of one another is possible, where kindness, compassion, creativity, and play leads the way. Stephen so beautifully said in our conversation that you really can't take something that you're good at and use it for good. So please enjoy our conversation and allow your body and your heart to receive it fully. Happy New Year, everybody. All right, Stephen, welcome to This Made My Week. Oh my gosh, I said it wrong. To This Made My Week. There we go. Yes, Christmas mode is on.
Hello, Hazel. Thanks so much for having me, and it's really nice to get invited to a show called This Made My Week. So yeah, thank you so much, Vita, for the invite and for taking the time to chat.
Yes, of course. Thank you for your time. And I have so many questions prepared. So let's just dive in. Um, Tell me a little bit about your journey, how this whole happened, and what led you to become the first gamer in residence of the Glasgow Children's Hospital.
Yeah, so I've been with with Glasgow Children's Hospital charity for 2.5 years now. Previously, my background was actually in journalism, funnily enough.
Oh,
I moved from a newspaper here in Glasgow to the charity to work in a kind of marketing and communications role. And we, after taking some time to sort of settle in and learn about the charity and get comfortable in a new role. In early 2023, I was sort of tasked with a new campaign called Games for the Wains. So Wayne means a child in Glasgow speak, and west of Scotland speak. Um, so that was kind of like a sort of marketing campaign for me to work on, in which we reached out to the gaming communities in Scotland and further afield, it turned out, and asked if they would like to do gaming fundraising for some of our young patients in the Children's Hospital. Um, the Children's Hospital, it's the busiest in Scotland. There's 250 plus beds there for children, and I think over 500 children are seen at the hospital every day between the inpatients
gosh.
and outpatient clinics. So it's a lot of children there. And a lot of them are really into their gaming. So we thought, well, this is maybe something that the gamers who are all grown up could maybe relate to, and they might like to fundraise so that we can buy more consoles and things like that. We weren't really sure what to expect with it, but the campaign ended up raising over £100,000 in 2023 alone, and has really um, grown since then as well. So with that money, we decided, well, we could actually fund a full-time gamer in the children's hostel who is on hand to game with our children, who can make sure all the consoles are working properly. Um, they all have controllers. They all have like it's just really simple things like making sure the controllers are charged and have batteries and things like that.
Mm,
Um, that's it's so simple, but that would be up to a member of our play team or even some of the clinical staff before. And that, that shouldn't have to be their job, and they need to focus on the patients and not the tech. Yeah, it was basically put to me that, look, you've been doing this. How would you feel about actually having this role? And because you're very comfortable with the hospital, and you've been doing all the fundraising for it, so why don't, for the first 18 months of this, we can try it with you. And I was incredibly honoured to have that opportunity. It's really fulfilling on a personal level, but I think it's more about our patients. And every day I go in there and I just try and put some smiles on faces through the magic of video games now.
Well, this is such a unique position to be in for you. But I imagine there's a huge rippling effect on children, on their parents, on the whole medical community, on you, of course, and perhaps people in your personal life as well. So can you tell me a little bit more about the effect that it had, like, the butterfly effect that it created in your life?
Yeah, it was just really, really special. So I started on the 1st of July, but it wasn't until around around about 3 months later, that we actually started, talking about it as something that we have created and funded. I think more just to give me time to settle in and find my feet in the hospital, and also just being able to focus on the children that I'm gaming with and trying to keep happy while they're in obviously an otherwise pretty stressful situation, perhaps.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, people have been incredibly kind. I got a lot of messages when it was in the news, both here and abroad. And yeah, it's been really, really nice to have all the support, and especially from people like yourself, Vita, that want to talk to me about sort of this story and learn a little bit more about what we do. Um, but yeah, it is really, really nice. It's really heartwarming to have all that support. And none of it's possible without the gamers themselves that have fundraised and made this happen. We had a lot of support from the Scottish video games industry, which was incredible last year and this year. Um, they've basically made this entire thing happen from scratch. And I can't thank all of them enough, and all of our online streamers, our community groups that have done the fundraising. It's all thanks to all of them as well.
mhm. So can you help me understand, like, how big is it? How many people are involved, and how does your day look like? How does it all work?
Yeah, so over at the hospital, we have 7 members of staff. Now, that's not just for gaming, that's for all of the projects that we do at the Children's Hospital. But I run the gaming fundraising, and I run the gaming service with the support of our gaming volunteers. They are really, really kind individuals who are giving up a morning or afternoon out of their week to come in and also game with their children, because, as I mentioned, it is such a large hospital. Um, so we have to try and get round as many keen gamers as possible. So I can only do that with the help of our wonderful volunteers who cover all sorts of different areas of the hospital, from short-term patients who are maybe have only been in for a few hours or a day, but they've not got anything with them, and they're maybe a little anxious about the situation they're in. To long-term patients who have been in for months potentially, where it's maybe the boredom that you're trying to keep away from their situation. We even have spent time in the National Psychiatric Unit in the hospital as well, for children with struggles with their mental health as well as their physical health in the other wards. So there's a lot of people involved in that, and that's not to mention the amazing staff in the NHS side who I work really closely with as well. We have a play team member for every ward in the hospital. So the play team know our children very well. Every single day they're trying to make things fun as they can on the wards. But I think by their own admission, only one or two of them are actual gamers themselves. Um, So often the child, I hear stories about like the child before I came in would be like explaining to the play team on how a console would work, because it's not what they're paid to do. It's not what they
Yeah.
um, are confident in. Um, and yeah, you'd have like an 8 or 9 year old like explaining to them, no, this is battery, or this needs charged, or this isn't working. Um, so I just want to come in and try and make things easier for them and allow them to focus on the patients that they support, which can be teeny tiny babies all the way up to a 15 or 16-year-old, right? I'd like to work really closely with them. I work closely with some of the clinical teams as well. There's a fantastic member of staff called Lindsay who um, I've worked quite closely with in a few patients, and she sees the benefit that gaming has in some of our young children. When it's done fitted around their clinical schedule, fitted around maybe their physiotherapy or their occupational therapy, their speech and language therapy, fitted around their school lessons, around arts and crafts, around storytelling, books, all these things. Like gaming has a place in that, and it's by working with those teams that we can actually sort of um, do it in a healthy way, in a structured way. Um, so yeah, I lean on a lot of different people for when I'm in the hostel and doing this. Um, but it's all about the children and just making sure things are right for them, and we're just trying to give them a little bit of happiness and a little bit of something from their outside life that they can continue to play in the children's hospital.
The more you explain, the more like, it looks like it's just all fun and games, but there's so much work and so much planning and so many details that are involved in this. So your job is huge. Oh my goodness. You do a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot in the background, I guess, that people don't see and that are, maybe some people would call them the boring parts, but there's a lot of sort of hard hours that is taken to get to this point where you have a sort of service that we can be proud of. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really love what I do, and I love working with the people that I work with.
That's gorgeous. And it sounds like this career path kind of found you. You initiated it, with volunteering and all that, but it was almost like a perfect match for both of you, for the hospital and you.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think anyone watching this that works for a charity, or in fundraising or something like that, you just kind of end up in it by accident usually because you don't go to university to study fundraising, right?
Yeah.
So everyone kind of comes from loads of different walks of life, and I think that's why it's such a lovely place to work, is because you get to meet so many different kinds of people, but you're all kind of united by that one goal, which is to make life easier for these young children who are going through some of their biggest battles. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do feel incredibly lucky. When I was a journalist, and I always wanted to pursue that dream of, I was a sports writer, and I love Scottish football, so I always wanted to pursue that dream of reporting on the sport that I love. But yeah, I fancied a change, and I'm just incredibly glad as to how it's all sort of worked out now. I really couldn't imagine, doing anything else now, to be honest.
Mhm. So for those who don't know, what effect does your job have on patients? Like, how does it help and support them?
Yeah, well, I guess to put it sort of the best way I could is just in our family's own words. I create a Microsoft form, and I sort of hand out a little um, sort of postcard size bit of paper with a link to that, so that the families, parents and carers can leave comments if they'd like, just about how they found this because it's a new service in the children's hospital. And all the responses so far have been really, really uplifting. Um, I had one just a few weeks ago of a child who was in for a transplant, and they were saying that, being able to build a house on Minecraft together had really brightened up his day, and made things a little bit easier for him while he was adjusting to that. Um, Sometimes I get feedback from the medical staff that it's keeping a child occupied during a long procedure. I remember in the early stages, maybe after a few weeks, I was in with a child who had been going for a plasma exchange, which is quite a long procedure. We also have children sometimes that are on dialysis, which can be 4 to 6 hours just sitting in a chair. So that's another way to keep them occupied as well. Um, and I think some of the children as well, it's maybe something that they don't have at home, and it's a chance to try something new. Maybe they weren't into video games, and then they sort of discovered that in hostel when there wasn't as many options in terms of how to have fun as they would be if they were outside the hostel and living the life that was normal to them before. So yeah, it does have a really profound impact. There's also one of the children that I uh, gamed with when we had one of the news crews in was sort of explaining how his hand had lost feeling in some of his fingers, and by playing Mario Kart together, it actually helped that sort of stimulation in his hand. So it's not every child is going to have like something like that, but it can actually be useful physically as well. But it's kind of the mental aspect of it and trying to reduce the boredom, trying to help them relax and feel a wee bit distracted from what they're going through. I think it's really working so far.
Yeah. I think what it does, it brings this holistic view of healing, that there are different parts that help, people and especially kids to heal, to go in this imaginary world, to leave the space, the hospital, and just play and have fun. There are so many researchers that show that if the positive effects of it that it has, it improves their resilience, lowers the stress, helps with the pain management and all that. And there are still some people who can be skeptic about it because they're skeptical about screen time, about video games, who have this idea that it's all bad and all negative. What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of I totally would agree that screen time. I don't want to even look at what mine's been like over the last few days since I've finished up with work for the holidays. So I totally get those concerns. But what we do is totally structured, like I mentioned. It's done around the child's sort of schedule of medical stuff, of lessons, of all the other activities that we support. We have storytellers, we have costume characters come in. We had Star Wars characters, sort of princesses. Um, our play team are on the wards every single day with arts and crafts and books and all these offline and off-screen activities to do. So what I would say to that is, don't worry, we've got all that other stuff covered as well. But this is for the children whose their main passion outside the hostel would be video games, and it's one of the last things that they can take from that outside life. They can't play their favorite sports. They can't meet up with their friends, as unless their friends come to them. I suppose they can't go to their favorite clubs. Here we have things like Boys Brigade and Brownies and Scouts, Girl Guiding. All those things. You can't really participate in that to this, at least to the same degree, if not at all. Um, so video games is with the support of our amazing fundraisers and with our gaming volunteers and with all the people that I lean on that I've mentioned. Video gaming is maybe one of the last things that they still have from the outside world. Um, and yeah, like I totally get concerns about screen time and like are these video games too addictive? Like I understand that there's a concern about that right now, but you really have to be in that children's hostel and see what some of our patients go through to realize that having video games for an hour or two and having a buddy to play them with um, is far more beneficial than just staring at the walls, if that makes sense. So yeah, until you're in that environment, you can have those concerns, but when you realize what it's like um, for these children sometimes, and just trying to give them a little bit of a reason to smile, and to give them a wee distraction for an hour or two. It is such a big thing for them. But yeah, I think the reaction has been incredibly positive. I've not really had really anyone say anything like that to me. I think everyone sort of gets like, you know, video games is going to be better if you're playing with a player too, right? So um, I think everyone's been really positive about what we're trying to do. Certainly the reaction from the families and from the patients themselves, that's been really positive as well. So um, yeah, that would be what I would sort of say to that argument. But yeah, like again, I don't want to know what my screen time is right now, so I do get it. I do get
Neither
it.
do I. You know, yeah, we're all addicted. That's the reality. Yeah. Well, going back to you, I have a personal question. I am curious. You mentioned yourself, this hospital environment, and you see all kinds of kids with all kinds of issues and, health struggles and all kinds of families, and you hear all kinds of stories. So how do you deal with all these ups and downs? Like at the end of the day, how do you take care of yourself?
Well, first of all, I think I have a fantastic team that I work with. I have a very supportive, head of department that I work with, and very supportive colleagues who deal with other aspects of the hospital, and the things that we provide for our families. So if anything, does happen, or there's any reason why, I'm feeling a little down or I need a bit of a break, I've always got support there, that's for sure. And I have once or twice really needed that support at times. But I think by and large, like the hospital, it can actually be a positive place, and that's because of our supporters that help us try and make it as positive as we can. Um, but yeah, I think it can be difficult sometimes, because I'm in there and I do kind of get to know these children over the course of their stay in the hospital. So I will see them in many occasions, like more than once. I will be in there a few times a week, or maybe over a few weeks I'll see them once a week or something like that. So it's hard to sort of separate that. I think when you pack up for the day and you go home, I think it can be quite difficult for me. Um, but yeah, I do mindfulness and things like that, and journaling, and that sort of helps me process all of that, of course. And I do de-stress and unwind by playing video games myself. So although I do think I'm playing a little bit less now because I am like playing so much for my actual job. I
Yeah.
think I'm maybe I'm sort of compartmentalizing that a little bit now. But yeah, I've got my sort of support network, and I've got those sort of techniques and things that I unwind with. But yeah, it's all about our patience. I'm just kind of in there to do my job.
I hear that it is a big teamwork and team effort, and it sounds beautiful the way you describe your colleagues and the whole environment. And when I started the show, This Made My Week, I was kind of I don't want to say at a low point in my life, but I was really just frustrated with all the negativity, and I was so kind of in my own world, I guess, that I wasn't able to see a broader perspective, a bigger picture. That's why I started asking myself, geez, there must be something else that I'm not seeing, that I'm not like I don't have information about. So I started to learn about all these communities, about these cool organizations, about charities that are doing incredible work, that are making a huge difference, like day-to-day people, now I'm convinced that everyone that you pass by on the street, they do something incredible because there are so many people who are doing good in this world. It's incredible. This show, it has been like truly, I don't want to sound dramatic, but almost like life-changing because the way I see life and people right now, it's totally different. So I'm so grateful that I got to learn about you, about what you're doing. Also, so I'm just expressing my huge gratitude. Also, I'm fascinated by your career. So, for the end, I have, I think, one of my final questions. if somebody is looking for this kind of fulfilling work, but they're stuck at their boring 9 to 5 that they don't want to do, what suggestion would you give to people who want this kind of different alternative career?
So I think when I realized that the newspaper life, it wasn't really for me, I just thought like, what am I doing right now? And how can I use those skills and what I'm used to? How can I use that for something good? And I looked into a few different sort of ways of doing that, and I felt, well, I'm okay with my writing, and I'm quite creative in that sense, in the way I write. And I'm used to social media and things like that. Because when you're in journalism now, like you got to be like, not only do you write your story, but you're also the one sometimes that will post it on social media, right? Because um, you got to be really versatile. So I decided, well, I think working for a charity and maybe like putting those skills to good use, in this way, I thought that was the best way for me. And it's been really, really satisfying, um, and fulfilling because, you're just all united from, the CEO right down to me. Everyone in the charity pulls in the same direction and is trying to, just make life as best as we can for our young patients. But yeah, I would say like look at what you're doing just now, and if it's a boring 9 to 5, um, you're good at something. Use that good, to do good. That's what I would say. I think that sounded quite profound actually, and I wasn't really
Mhm.
expecting that. Um, uh, but yeah, that's what I would say. I think.
That's huge. By the way, were you a big gamer before you started this job or volunteering?
Yeah, so I've probably gamed like most weeks since I was like 6 or 7 years old. I used to abhor like family holidays sometimes because like I would just like I want to get back and I want to play this new game that's out on my Wii. I would seek out like internet cafes and places where I was on a holiday from. My mum and dad were probably like, "What are we gonna do with this boy?" um, yeah, like I'm really used to it. I obviously still do game in my spare time as well, and that's I think what makes it so fulfilling and such an honor really to have this job is because I remember being a child and that amazement and wonder at being able to play a new game. But I'm an older brother. My sister's 5 years younger, so when I was round about that age. I never had someone really to play with. Um, so until obviously like online games and stuff started becoming more and more common and things like that. Um, so yeah, it does really feel quite full circle the fact I'm now able to sort of be a player too for our young children. And yeah, I just so thankful for everyone that made that possible for sure.
Oh my gosh, my heart is so, so soft right now. You're giving me butterflies in the stomach. This is so, so beautiful. These are the kind of stories I love hearing and sharing with people. So thank you so, so much once again for your time and for everything that you're doing. My final question, Stephen, what made your week this week?
What made my week this week was being able to have Christmas dinner with all my family, who I love very, very much, and just another year celebrating together. Um, so yeah, what about you?
That's beautiful. What made my week? Oh my gosh, this is going to sound so Cons yes, of course, being with my family, having in Lithuania, we have the big dinner at Christmas Eve. So I
Okay.
cooked and it was lovely. We had a wonderful time. But you know what? I'm so, so happy about my Christmas gift. Like I don't have it here, but I got Kindle for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
The reading. I'm so excited because I wasn't able to read for the longest time because we co-sleep with my son and I can't put the light on. And I got Kindle. So now I can read in my bed, and I'm so giddy each time I take it in my hands. So even though it's like very, stuff based, but still, it totally made my week getting that Kindle. So there we go.
Okay. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Uh, Okay, Stephen. Well, thank you once again for this chat. I wish you well, wish you all the best to you in your job and the hospital and all the kiddos and their families. Thank you for the work that you do, and I cannot wait for people to hear your story.
Well, thank you again for having me. Like it is really really nice when someone called or that has a show called This Made My Week gets in touch with you. Like, everyone enjoys it when it's out, and yeah, happy New Year and happy Christmas from me and everyone at the charity to you and to all of your viewers.
Thank you so, so much.